Man, oh man. I'm a little under the weather. Yeah. Happens to the best of us. Boy, do I feel like this might be the first episode. You know, this podcast is still relatively unknown at this moment, but when this thing blows up, I have a very distinct feeling that this episode will probably get banned. Or this would be the episode that labels me as some kind of self-loathing, self-hating, transphobic. Like I'll be all the shits. I'll be all the shits. If there's a phobia to exist for it, certainly I will occupy the ranks as one of the, you know, hopefully to be one of the at least, but one of the most transphobic, one of the most bigoted. Yeah, that's gonna be me. To start something, what needs to go now? What should have already been gone? And I got food today. I might eat some of this chicken during this shit because I've already talked in great detail about how I despise this evil witch of a woman, Jada Pinkett Smith, and her husband, Will Pinkett. So, for the opening segment, it's going to be from Daily Wire. Holy slap. Jada Pinkett Smith says her Will Smith Oscars debacle convinced her to, quote, never leave him. So I'm going to try not to spend too much time on this because this is, you know, largely negligible. But, you know, the fuck's she talking about? Convinced her to never leave him, but fuck another nigga behind his back umpteen years into y'all marriage, you know? Yeah, like the fact that this woman is still trying to like just reason away somehow. Like any of this shit she's done is reasonable. The fact that she's just trying to reason it all away, like, you know, like, oh man, you mean when I cheated on him? Oh yeah. Boy, you know, Will is funny. He handled it I'm actually very proud of him. He handled it very well, you know. It's not easy to look at your wife the same after she goes and sucks another man's dick. But, you know, Will Smith has kind of paved the way for simps nationwide, across the world. That's what the fuck she ought to be saying. But no, she's just soaking up all the attention that she can get for being a horrible person in her relationship, for doing Will Smith bold in the motherfucker. I mean, did Will Smith cheat on her? I don't know. I don't care. It's not really worth talking about. I'm just shocked that this shit's still back in the news. I saw something about it earlier, but it's like, you might as well have left him, you know? This motherfucker went up on stage and smacked Chris Rock. And this was like a year and a half ago. This is what? Jada Pinkett Smith referred to her husband Will Smith hitting Chris Rock during the 94th Academy Awards in 2022 as a holy slap, saying it has some positive results. The 52-year-old actress reflected on the incident during a newly published interview with Daily Mail's You magazine. I nearly didn't even attend the Oscars that year, but I'm glad I did. I call it the holy slap now because so many positive things came after it. I mean, for who? Positive things came for who? Like, that shit pretty much ruined Will Smith's reputation. Like, he's never going to be what he was. Like, people might move on, forget about it. You know, I mean, it is what it is. It happened, but, you know, that shit, I know I wouldn't say I'm a Will Smith fan, but I like some of his work now. I'm completely disinterested in that motherfucker. Like, I've, you know, per se forgiven you for doing that shit, but it's like, it's just, I can't really respect you after that shit. You went up there and smacked the shit out of that man to win over a woman who talks about you like you're not even in the room. Like, she's done you way worse than you could have ever done Chris Rock by slapping him for her affection. Will stormed onto the stage to hit Rock after he made a joke about Jada's bald head. She was diagnosed with the medical condition alopecia, which causes her hair to fall out. Though Rock said he wasn't aware of that when he told the joke, the Men in Black actor has publicly apologized for his actions. Meanwhile, Jada announced in her memoir that she and Will have been separated since 2016, but were still technically married. So, like, what does that tell you right there? Like, I really don't want to spend more than 10 minutes talking about this bitch. I actually don't really like her very much. I don't like Will Smith very much either. I just find it interesting that motherfuckers are even still willing to cover these lunatics. Like, Will Smith's just a broken man. And Jada Pinkett is just, Will Pinkett is a broken man. And Jada Pinkett is just, she's just capitalizing off all the attention, all the people that are willing to cover their personal lives and their failed marriage for profit. That's literally, that's what that is now. She just said they had been separated since 2016, but then said the fact that he got up on stage and smacked Chris Rock was why she could never leave him. So what does the word separated mean to Jada Pinkett? Like, what's that mean? What do you think it means when you're separated from somebody? What do you think it means when you go suck another nigga's dick, you go fuck another nigga while you married? What's your definition of separated, huh? That sounds pretty goddamn separated to me. Which is why it's, you know, it's like those pimple videos, how when a motherfucker's doing something disgusting, or if like you just see somebody operating a machine and it's like cutting the exact same slice at the exact same moment. Like, you get that kind of satisfaction from just like, it's kind of like that. That's the reason I pulled this up, because I'm like, wow, we're still talking about this. Like, America or whoever is not moved on. Like, I mean, I wish it wasn't the Daily Wire covering this, but I suppose to some degree it is newsworthy, because, you know, a woman fucks another man and pulls her husband while she's married and pulls her husband on a TV show she's got, talk about it, you know, for the fucking world to see. That's pretty bizarre, if you ask me. So it's just more or less just the because I've talked about it before. Like, I dedicated a whole, it's probably like 10, 12 episodes ago, but I gave Jada and Will Pinkett a whole fucking episode, and I'm just like, their marriage is in shambles. This is the antithesis of a fucking healthy, functional relationship. They're both, she's ultimately delusional. He's snapped beyond the point where he's ever gonna probably admit he's probably so far broken there's just no repairing him. And it's hard to blame him. Like, I mean, you can't let it get that bad first off, but like, once you're there, it's like, I guess props for him for continue to keep getting out the bed. Like, you know, like, that shit's kind of mind-boggling to me, man. I just, you know, I really don't think this is news, but I just thought it would be, I just thought I would take a look at it. The moment, she says, I'm reading from the article now, the moment of shit hitting the fans when you see where you really are. After all those years of trying to figure out if I would leave Will's side, it took that slap for me to see that I will never leave him. Yeah, this bitch is she's fucking nuts. Something's wrong with Jada Pinkett. Jada Pinkett Smith. Like, in her mind, like, she's touched. Because, like, after that slap, that's when you knew you wasn't going to leave him. So what about all the time before that? What about when you pledged your life to him? Who knows where our relationship would be if that hadn't happened, she added. Like, what? What? I mean, we could all take a relatively close guess. I mean, just because you said y'all was separated, just technically still married. So what the fuck is that? Y'all would be in however that advances, you know? I would ask a rocket scientist to do that, calculate that out for me, but unfortunately, I can't afford a rocket scientist I can't afford to have that done. Nor can I find a rocket scientist with enough free time to undertake such a foolish-ass venture. So, you know, I guess we'll never know where your relationship would have headed had you not been an unfaithful harlot to this man and destroyed him and humiliated him publicly. So, yeah, really, like I said, I'm not going past 10 minutes on this bitch. I really only talked about it for 8 minutes because I bullshitted for the first 10 seconds. So just wanted to follow up with that bitch. Her and the coverage of her failed marriage need to go now. Bro, I don't remember the last time I had a fucking cold. Like, I got a head cold. Or like a chest cold or something. Like, that shit's just... Anyway, I'm about to finish this segment, jump in the shower while, try to close this out tonight. Got a few things I need to do. But anyways, before we get into this, what should be great. Well, I don't see how this couldn't be great. But excuse me, I'm fired up right now. You should too. Oh yeah. I want to stop smoking weed, but I'm not there yet. When I get there, I'll let you guys know. All right. So, hate to continuously come back to this well, especially so soon. What, just last episode? But, yeah, this one's courtesy of NBC, MSNBC. So, this awful anti-trans propaganda film is an absurd fantasy of male domination. Opinion by Caitlyn Burns. When these articles are this stupid, I like to let you know who wrote it so we can know who precisely to mock. So, you could probably guess which movie they're talking about. Talking about Lady Ballers. And, I'm going to try my best. I'm going to try to do this like a clapback because it's a little bit longer of an article. But after skimming through it, there are some glaring, obvious errors within this text. So, buckle up. Hang on a second. Let me figure out where the beginning is. All right. Lady Ballers, a movie written and directed and headlined by Daily Wire CEO Jeremy Boring and featuring an appearance from former Daily Wire editor Ben Shapiro, is the latest awful propaganda the conservative media have fashioned into a weapon against trans people. The absurdity of the movie is about cis men dressing up as women to play basketball as revealed already in his trailer, where Boring's character asks, so a guy can become a girl with no physical changes at all? Now, yeah, this was just going to run long. I'm sorry. I have to dissect all of this because it's fucking stupid. So, first of all, it's not a weapon against trans people. You guys are so narcissistic. You think every fucking thing's about you. No, it's not against trans people. It's for everybody else. Just like some people say the glass is half full, the glass is half empty. Yeah, well, you guys' glass is half empty. Our glass is full. If you don't like the shit, don't watch the shit. Great movie. I'm going to watch it again before the year is over. But, yeah. The absurdity of the movie about cis men dressing up as women to play basketball. And then a guy asks, can a guy become a girl with no physical changes at all? It's literally fucking happening. It's literally happening. What's absurd about that? The absurdity about the movie, men dressing up as women, like, it's happening. What the fuck are you talking about? This is not theory. This is observable in day-to-day life. So I could be a woman on the court and a man in the bedroom. I can't believe it, says another character. Not surprisingly, the film is soaking up praise from right-wing critics while being widely panned by the rest of society. I refuse to watch such trash of a film, but the trailer and reviews of it make its toxicity plain. Okay, well, first of all, we all do this to some degree when it's some shit that we don't vibe with. We just like, oh, I would never watch it. So it's like, if you're never gonna watch it, fine, but you can't call it an awful movie just based off what you think you know about it based on the trailer. You can say the trailer sucks, but you haven't watched the movie because you're a dull, uninteresting individual who doesn't have a sense of humor because anything that's funny is offensive to you fuckers. So who gives a shit about, yeah, I wouldn't watch such trash of a film. How do you know it's trash? It got 95% reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. So unless you're willing to say that 95% of people who took the time to write a review on it are wrong or don't know what they're talking about, you should watch the fucking movie. You might actually find it funny, just saying. And I think your willingness to condemn the movie just based on what you've heard and not even being brave enough to watch it. Like, I went to go see the fucking Barbie movie. I'm not a feminist. I went to go see it, even though everyone at the Daily Wire said it was trash. Ben Shapiro went and saw it, said it was trash. Matt Walsh said it was trash. I think Michael Knowles trashed it. I heard what I heard about it, and I still went and saw it because I'm not a pussy like you. I sat through it in its entirety. I didn't even get up to go to the bathroom. I watched it in full. So where's your excuse? Oh, your excuse is you're a little bitch. Okay. Anywho, to continue reading. I wrote the fuck out of this. But at the heart of Lady Ballers, available at Daily Wire Plus, thanks for the plug, like all the transphobic messages from the far right, is a sweeping lie. This movie pretends that adult men can simply declare themselves women without taking any steps to medically transition and then go out and conquer women's sports. Actually, the movie doesn't pretend that that's what adult men can do. It actually illustrates that concept rather soundly. Men are doing it. The dude, spoiler alert, one of the dudes, how it got into this mess was once they quit playing basketball, one of the dudes was like working at a fucking drag queen restaurant or like working at some type of gay bar where guys dressed up as women and like they're waitresses. So it's like that's how that concept is introduced. And a lot of these people, like, what good is a medical transition? Like, so you mean to tell me you can spend the duration of your life, like, let's say somebody like, Joe Rogan's example is best. Let's say Brock Lesnar. If somebody like Brock Lesnar, can he just medically transition to a woman and the playing field still be even? We all can agree that's absurd. You cannot transition a Brock Lesnar and or any man at that point. Just because you butcher and mutilate someone, that is not a transition. You aren't going anywhere. There's no movement. There's no forward movement. There's no lateral movement. There's no reverse movement. There's no movement. You're just chopping yourself up and wearing makeup and letting your hair grow. Because that's what you think a woman is, which means you don't know what a woman is. We've all known what a woman is since forever. This shit only recently became a question that was seriously pondered. I asked a girl at a bus stop one day, I'm like, what is a woman? The fact that anything that came out of her mouth wasn't me, I'm a woman. Like, she couldn't even say that she was a woman. It's mind-boggling. So what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's pretending. The movie parrots real-life lies about trans people who play sports. And even trans people who do not. A ProPublica investigation released last week explains how the Medical University of South Carolina was bullied by conservative lawmakers and media into suddenly cutting off treatment to older trans teens, in part because a quickly spreading myth that the medical center had been prescribing hormones to 4-year-olds, a myth that spread further when Elon Musk posted about it on X. What do you mean a myth? A myth. So these people won't just say it's a lie. They say it's a myth. The real life lies about trans people who play sports. What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm just going, I said I could do this. So I'm just going to look through where I get my articles from, and I'm going to see how much of it's talking about trans women in sports. Because I know it just updated, so a lot. What? Okay. Boom, here we go. GB News. Men should not be playing in women's sports. Boom, boom, boom. Study prove how much hate women... Okay, no, that's not it. If I keep scrolling, it'll show up. Okay, I might have hold myself. It's not showing up now, but okay. Hey, nope, not it. Not it. Yep, I'm just holding myself. I saw something about Riley Gaines earlier blasting someone in Illinois who was... saying trans women don't have any effect on sports whatsoever. I'm gonna refresh this just because I really went out on a limb and I hold myself here. So I'm gonna see what else come up if I hit the refresh. Boop 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 boop. Let's see. Nah. Riley Gaines calls Rep. Lia misogynist during heated hearing. Yeah, okay, so perhaps in this instance I hold myself, but I'm telling you, I get on here and it's sometimes I have to scroll down a long ways just to find something that's not it. Or you could just listen to my past episodes. Like, I talk about it frequently. I've brought up, I would say, at least 6, 7 different instances. It's probably more than that. I just don't want to overshoot after I just hold myself. But there's numerous incidents in powerlifting, surfing, swimming, what was it? Volleyball, I think I heard. Cycling, MMA. It's happening. It's not deniable. It's not subjective. It's happening. So what fucking lies are you talking about? And then Matt Walsh exposed Vanderbilt for performing quote-unquote gender-affirming surgery on children, on minors. And after he brought it out, they stopped. And now it's illegal in the state of Tennessee to even perform those procedures on minors. Yeah, see that? You can look that shit up, and I just said, that's facts. This shit you talking ain't facts. Ain't no myths. These are facts. Fuck you mean myth? Myth these nuts, you dumb fuck. The propaganda campaign against MUSC and the pathetic male power fantasy is that his lady ballers are deeply intertwined. See, they always just try to trash it so hard. But they don't have an angle. Like, this is just something they have to post back so people have something to share on Facebook. Like, they can't let a movie this powerful. This threatens them directly. If this movie, the fact that this movie is a success is a direct threat to the left entirely. That's why they just shit on it. It's a great fucking movie. It's a great movie. It's worth the Daily Wire membership. It's fucking worth it. Spoiler alert. This movie follows a group of 5 men played by the banal media personalities at the Daily Wire. Apparently, real actors willing to take the roles couldn't be found. Oh, yeah, real big dig, yeah. What the fuck have you done lately? What movies have you starred in? What artistic, creative project have you spearheaded? Your ass sit at a desk and bash plastic all fucking day. Poorly at that. So talking about real actors couldn't be found. You couldn't even be an extra in the background. You a typist. You a typist and somehow employed poor thought interpreter. That's what you are. Real actors willing to take the roles couldn't be found, blah, 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 who declare that they're women and then go on to dominate a women's basketball league. It's a male power fantasy in that it depicts out-of-shape, unathletic men constantly dunking on women. It's actually, okay, maybe it is a male power fantasy, but the movie isn't a male power fantasy. Like, dumbass women like you write articles supporting the people that are trying to erase you from existence. They're coming into your sports. I know sports is probably unfamiliar to you because the fucking highest number you've ever done anything at was probably like 110 words per minute. See how I'm just ragging on you about being a typist? A fucking typist? Like, what good is a fucking typist gonna be when it's time to go to war? If your ass can't look at a screen and have minor hand-eye coordination ability, your ass gonna get wrapped, you gonna get thrashed. You useless. Useless. Talking about talking about this is a power fantasy. No, it's reality. It's what's happening. If you think it's a power fantasy, why aren't you speaking up against this? You think the movie's a power fantasy? What about the actual men showing their dicks to women in locker rooms and shit, talking about their women, disrobing in front of women? Talking about power fantasy, that's sexual fantasy, and you're promoting it, dumb bitch. Man. When Daniel Considine is shown in the trailer dunking a basketball, the camera is directly over the basket. An angle a director would choose to hide, say, a 2-inch vertical jump. Well, yeah, it's a fucking comedy. I noticed it as well. Trust me. It like, if they wanted to hide it, they could have hidden it. But the idea here was to not be spending hundreds of millions of dollars on a movie. Like, the idea was to spend a small amount of money and get a large return on it. Just like that one movie, I forget that Walsh talked about, but said the budget was like $15 million and it grossed like 100 plus million. So it's like, you know, that's the idea. Because Disney just dropped like $300 million flops. They fumbled $1 billion, nigga. It was like 3 to 5 of them, something like that. They last 4, something like that. Disney fumbled $1 billion. Why you ain't talking about Disney? With that woke ass bullshit that you promote. Where's your criticism of Disney and they flops? You fucking biased punk. Man, like, shit is frustrating. It's infuriating. This is ad hominem. They're not even attacking the point anymore. They're talking about he got a 2-inch vertical jump. Fuck has that got to do with anything? Continue. The movie's premise is rather simple. By virtue of being simply born with balls, men can dominate any woman on the court. When it's more likely the case is that any cis woman who's put in time down at the recreation center will dribble circles around these men. Bro. Oh my God. What's this woman's name? Oh my God. This woman is outright delusional. Caitlyn Burns. You are delusional. You need to be fired. You need a vacation. One or the other. You need to be fired or you need a vacation. You are riled up. Okay? You are an emotional woman right now. Like, what? Bro. Any woman who's putting the time down at the recreation center? What? What world do you live in? Bro, the best woman in the WNBA could not handle the worst NBA player. The WNBA is only getting hype right now because you guys won't shut the fuck up about it. There are no women dribbling circles around these men. There just aren't. Show it to me. Show it to me. Why does your angle have to be a hypothetical? Likely the case that any woman who's put in time down at the what does that mean? Continue. The movie takes 2 separate ideas: how individuals define their gender and how we structure chance, participation in organized sports, and dishonesty conflates them. The movie scenario wouldn't be permitted by any sport governing bodies above the high school. Okay, see, it's obviously a comedy. It says in the trailer, the world's the most triggering comedy in America. So talk about wouldn't be permitted by any sport governing. It's a fucking comedy movie. It's not supposed to be. It's disconnected from reality in a sense because that's where the humor is derived. You know, on the fact that this isn't supposed to be happening, but it is. Like, it's funny when we look at it in a movie, but when we look at it in real life, we like okay it. That's what it's trying to highlight. Like, if we can look at this movie and laugh at it, why can't we look at these people and laugh at them? Though many organizations such as World Aquatics and World Athletics have caved to political pressure recently in banning trans women from women's sports, those that remain trans inclusive have strict medical requirements for trans women hoping to compete against other women. That's not good enough. Yeah, like just because there's some type of condition in there that it's okay. It's not okay. But the conflation and the lie are central to selling political laypeople on these bans on trans women in women's sports. Conservatives need you to believe it's possible for a situation like the one depicted in Lady Ballers to be possible. That way they can make sweeping generalizations like men are generally superior athletes to women to justify misgendering trans women in sports as men. Like I said, this is going to run long because I'm going to contradict everything they're saying is just lame. It's not convincing whatsoever. It's based all on this woman's emotional temper tantrum. The conflation and the lies selling political laypeople on these bans. What? They need you to believe a situation like the one depicted in Lady Ballers is possible? What do you mean? It's actual. It's actual. It's happening. It may not have happened the way it's depicted in Lady Ballers. They may not have all been on a previous high school state championship basketball team and he just wanted, he was down on his luck. That's just the plot for the movie. It's disconnected from reality, in that sense. But it's not disconnected from reality in the fact that it's happening. They simply convey this message within a narrative. They storytell it. They just like how Barbie was all up in your face with feminism. Like, even though it still had a storyline, like the Kens took over Barbie land and all that shit. And then Barbie had to take it back and save the day and all that shit. They had to just have a storyline basically to put the feminist propaganda in your face without just shouting it at you. So that's what they did. They said, this is ridiculous. But instead of saying this is ridiculous, we put a storyline with it to show you it's ridiculous and keep you interested for 2 hours. And by the way, men are superior to females to women in the physical realm. This is a biological fact. Just because there are some women stronger than men does not mean all women are stronger than men. That's why some women are. Some women means some are and some are not. And people try to play games with the all, some, or none little shit that they do. All, some, or none, blah, blah, blah. They want to use these, talking about sweeping generalizations. That's all these people use when you try to pin them down, ask them to define something. What does that mean? Justify misgendering trends. It's not, like, so one, we either justify it and it's justifiable, like my justification is valid, or I justify it, but it's not good enough. Like, how do I justify it without, it being justifiable? Like, you can't just walk up the street, shoot somebody in the face and be like, oh, he had some sleep in his eye. I was trying to move it. That's not justifiable. But if you was like, he had a gun and pointed it at me, so I shot him in his face, that's justifiable. So, like, at what point do, like, we don't have to justify misgendering trans women. That's not real. It's only real to you. And if it's only real to you, how can I verify its existence? That's why you don't have a truth. You as in you. Yourself. The listener. Continue. Lying lets them ignore what a gender transition does to a trans woman's body. Even experts opposed to trans women participating in women's sports agree that athletic performance is severely degraded once trans women start estrogen treatment. Their concern is whether athletic performance is degraded enough to erase all alleged biological advantages. What do you mean alleged biological advantages? If you have to degrade their performance, then that means it's coming from somewhere up. Like to degrade means to take away. So if we on the same plane and I take away, that means you're now superior. If I'm ahead of you and I have to come down to your level, I got to be ahead of you to come down to your level. So the fact that your performance is degraded tacitly suggests that you are already somewhere else. You cannot If the degradation started at an equal level, then it makes you superior, and you wouldn't have a valid complaint. So you're saying that men are better if this process is supposed to degrade them down to a woman's level. Do you see how this shit doesn't make sense? It doesn't make sense. There are thousands of these loopholes you can poke out in this shit. I've been ranting for 25 minutes about this shit, and I'm going to continue till this article is done. Every time they say something stupid. Who the fuck is this? This is MSNBC. This is MSNBC. And it's not like that's a big deal that of course they do this shit all the time, but who's going to sit here and walk you through each paragraph and pinpoint all this shit? This is mainstream media. This is why you shouldn't listen. I don't watch the news. My grandma watched the news all the time. All the time. The closest thing you're going to get to real honesty is like local news. Like local news stations, and even still, they subsidiaries of the mainstream shit, but the local stories they cover, it's more genuine. I would watch a local news before I watch fucking MSNBC nightly news or CNN or fucking any of that shit. Continue. Even that's a more nuanced argument than the nonsense argument made in Lady Ballers. In the same way that the right pushes a lie about trans athletes, it also pushes a lie about the providers of gender-affirming care for trans minors. Conservatives love to pretend that thousands of kids are getting whisked off to gender clinics to get immediate, even prepubescent castrations. That's another lie, of course. It's not. It's not a lie. You can do your own research. It is not my duty to cite every source I have all the time. But I am a podcaster. I have looked at hundreds of articles, most of which I've covered on the episode. Some I've canceled out, but I still looked at them anyway. I just decided not to put them on the episode. Hundreds of articles from both sides, from the left and from the right. This is a leftist article. I don't really the Daily Wire is like and Fox News is pretty much the only consistent right-wing news sources that I pick from. A lot of this shit is written by leftists. And I do that for a reason. I've actually been on both sides. So it's like, I'm trying to take the side that's saying the goofy shit and highlight it. And it's just so much of it in here. I can't shut up. I cannot shut up. I can't. How much more is it? Yeah, we almost done. There are small numbers of transmasculine teens who are able to get top surgery, breast removal or reduction in the U.S. Small numbers of you. Okay, so that's basically saying there are small numbers is equivalent to saying it's happening. Just because there are small numbers, you're agreeing with me. This is what narcissists do. This is narcissism 101 right here. There are small numbers of who get it, but otherwise, gender-affirming care for minors does not include surgery. Like, did you see how they tried to sweep that shit under the rug? It's like they do on them medicine commercials. It's like, if you take this pill, you have the chance of your intestines falling out of your mouth when you sleep. You could get instant diarrhea, exploding from the eyes, and sudden ear bleeding. But take this right now and get reunited with your family and start doing the things you love. You're like, wait, you said I could what from the ass? Like, what'd you say? What? They trying to slip it under the rug. A small number of teens. Small number of teens mean too many. Don't matter if they're getting surgery or not. Gender-affirming care isn't real. It's some made-up shit. That's what's being parroted. Instead, it's a careful, slow, carefully monitored. Also, you're going to use carefully twice. A careful, slow, carefully monitored process involving first puberty blockers to temporarily prevent some of the permanent effects of natal puberty while trans adolescents have a chance to wait and make a more mature and permanent decision about their bodies. Yeah, this doesn't make sense. All this is just saying, like, we want to do it anyway. we want to do it anyway. A careful, slow, carefully monitored process. The fuck does that mean? Just because you're careful and slow doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to not make errors. Doesn't mean that this doesn't go wrong. Why are there so many detransitioners? Get on YouTube and look up detransitioners if you think I'm lying. Go look, just do it. I heard a chick talking about she's a post-op trans woman. And I guess when they like formed the vagina or whatever, they didn't close that shit up right. So you just basically got a cavity in you where your dick used to be, where your shit used to be, and now it's like growing fungus and shit on the inside. It's like some type of bacteria forming on the inside of that shit. So you got this trans woman, DNA man with some type of seriously, it's a serious condition. It's not something to be ignored. They don't know what to do. So you got this trans woman with this faux bacterial vaginosis. You got a fake vaginal infection. How do you not feel sorry for these people? Like, they've been duped. They got duped, bro, into permanently disfiguring themselves. Wouldn't you just stick with the decision at that point? Like, what the fuck? Like, fuck. It's undoable. This is me now. How the fuck I'm gonna recover from this? You got whoever this bitch is at MSNBC writing this article full of lies. Full of them. Nigga, Google search lies. Like, shit that you could figure out that this shit is lies and scratch your ass at the same time while sitting down. You could do that. That's how easily disprovable this shit is. These people are lunatics, bro. But no one is truly motivated by this very nuanced argument. Instead, the right has to lie. Conservatives need you to believe. Why do they keep saying that? Conservatives need you to believe that doctors are constantly circling, always looking for a half chance to chop off a kid's genitals. They are, because it's lucrative. There have already been undercover investigations and exposés showing these people talking in meetings about how it's profitable. That's why they're in the business of it. They make hundreds of millions of dollars off gender-affirming care. The fuck? No one's truly motivated. What the fuck you mean they need you to believe? They need you to believe? Ain't that what's telling the truth is? Like, when I tell you the truth, I do need you to believe it. Yeah, like, if I'm being honest, like, I don't need you to believe it because it's a lie. I need you to believe it because it's the goddamn truth. So I guess to some degree, they're right. Yeah, we do need you to believe it because it's the truth. It's fucking true. How much proof do you need? How much denial are you willing to be in? This is just what motivates protests and death threats against doctors. And just they are in an argument about trans participation in sports. The extremists are getting results. According to the ProPublica report, the Medical University of South Carolina stopped treating older trans teens, even though South Carolina hadn't even banned gender transition for minors. Wow. It instead banned the use of state funds for youth and gender transitions. Hospital leaders at MUSC initially said no state funds were to be used for gender transition care, but then later bowed to the public misinformation campaign run by conservative activists and stopped providing the care it had been providing to older teens. So why would you do that? Talking about they bowed to it. The fuck do you bow for? If you're doing the right thing, why do you stop? Just because some conservatives have a problem with it. Huh? Conservatives often claim to be defenders of reality in the transgender debate, but if that were truly the case, then why do they have to constantly lie about trans issues? It's they who are manipulating what people perceive as reality in order to drive hate against a minority they want erased. Man, see, that's just not even a defense. They claim to be the defenders of reality, but if that were the case, why do they have to constantly lie about trans issues? You have a question as an angle. Like, what do you mean? Why do they have to constantly lie about trans issues? So whatever I answer to that question is, that finishes your sentence, essentially. If that were truly the case, why do they have to constantly lie about trans issues? Because you guys have to constantly lie about conservative issues. Boom. That's why. That's why. Your question has been answered. So just because you ask a question and you leave it open-ended, so it's like you trying to leave it up to the listener. You don't want to hit them with hard evidence. You just be like, hey, what do you think? What do you think? What do you really think? Don't listen to him. What do you think? Don't listen to that person that's telling you what you need to hear. He needs you to believe that. He needs you to believe it. Because if you do, then you won't listen to me. He needs you to believe that. Like, they need you to believe. Like, you need people to believe. People already know what's true. You're the one that needs people to believe. This shit is leftist nonsense. And when you see it, you should call it out. You should highlight it. You should mock it. You should ridicule it. And you should spread the truth. They're the ones trying to blow smoke up your ass, not conservatives. Defenders of reality is a good way to put it. That's pretty much what we doing. I guess you consider being conservative. Like, it is what it is. Like, I understand why. I've been on both sides. Like, I've almost thrown my life away. Like, for real. And I'm still tempted to damn near every day. But I make the decision to not do that shit. I make the decision to, armed with the knowledge of what I don't want for myself, I'm able to go forward and walk by faith and not by sight. And it's not even like a difficult thing for me, you know? So keep your eyes open, man. Like, this shit is not a game. This shit is happening right in front of you. And if you don't open your motherfucking eyes, you will look at your community and look at your everything, and you will not recognize it. This is the indication of the fall of civilizations. This is how civilizations come to an end, when nothing means anything anymore, and there's no order, and there's no reign on anything. Like, this is how shit comes to an end. So keep your eyes open. All right. What do we got here now? Courtesy of Sports Kita. Quote, Lia Thomas went through male puberty. Caitlyn Jenner condemns the transgender swimmer being allowed to win NCAA tournament. Yeah, let me fire up real quick. All right. Man, I don't even know what to say about this headline. Like, it's just kind of weird. I mean, it's all weird, but in the sense that Caitlyn Jenner, who we all know used to be Bruce Jenner and kind of like paved the way for this brand of behavior, per se, these real public and notable transitions. Like, people been doing it for however long, but on a real public and center stage, it hasn't been happening like that. It's a relatively new thing, and especially for her to win Woman of the Year and all that. So before I start reading the article and shit, like, I kind of find it odd that of all people, Caitlyn Jenner wants to condemn the fact that this swimmer should be allowed to win a NCAA tournament. But at the same time, you accepted an award for Woman of the Year. Like, Caitlyn Jenner was awarded a Woman of the Year award and hadn't even really been a woman for like 5 years. Hadn't been a woman for any significant time. This was like right after the procedure. So it's like, how can you pull a rank on Lia Thomas, even if you are saying the right thing? Like, how can you condemn that behavior and not give back that award? So if you condemn that behavior, you're not the Woman of any year. You're not a woman. You know, I just think it's highly hypocritical. I think that even if Caitlyn Jenner's right, like, this is not her battle to fight. This is not, you should sit this one out. Because your ass showing up, sat up there and accepted Woman of the Year. So you can't throw dirt on anybody else. So I'm gonna fix this blunt real quick. And we'll get into this article. Hope it's fixed. If not, then don't slap my titties and call me Betty. There we go. Yeah, I try not to have all them pauses in there, but like, I'm gonna hit this weed while I do this podcast. Caitlyn Jenner recently criticized Lia Thomas winning a swimming event at the NCAA Division I National Championship in 2022. Thomas, a transgender athlete, competed in the women's category in 2022 and became the first transgender athlete to win the NCAA Division I National Championship in any event. Thomas won the women's 500-yard freestyle event, beating Olympic silver medalist Emma Wyant. The transgender swimmer was placed fifth with a time of 1:43.50 in the 200-yard freestyle and tied with Riley Gaines, an advocate against the inclusion of transgender athletes in women's sports. Man, I just be reading this shit. Like, this is what half the reason why I try not to pick these kinds of articles too much, because it's not even really, even in every individual unique circumstance, I just feel like I'm repeating myself. Like, it's so dumb that we even have to talk about this. And it's so dumb that Caitlyn Jenner is sticking her nose into this conversation. Like, I really don't want to hear a word Caitlyn Jenner has to say unless you're going to withdraw that Woman of the Year award and, talk about how evil this shit is. Like, you went and got the surgery. We all know Bruce Jenner was a stellar athlete in their time. So how are you like, what moral high ground are you standing on? I don't understand. It's just all really dumb. And it's so obvious to me with each article I read. Like, this is just not a conversation we should be having seriously. I'm actually getting tired of even covering it. But I know covering it is what needs to happen. It needs to be talked about. Like, I don't. This is the most open and shut, stupid ass issue that we still talking about to this day. Like, if we gonna even continue to have this trans debate, this subject needs to just be taken off the fucking docket. Like, it just. Thomas, who swam for the University of Pennsylvania, was earlier ranked 65th in the men's category of the 500-yard freestyle. The trans swimmer then moved to first place after shifting to the women's category. Similarly, in the 200-yard freestyle, Thomas moved from 554th rank on the men's team to 5th in the women's category. And that's just, that's not a coincidence at all. Like, it's just a normal events. Like, when you go from being a man to a woman, like, it does something to your character. Like, who you are changes, and especially physically. And what it does is it makes you better. So when you start taking all these hormones and going through this medical treatment that's meant to, nerf you, essentially, is supposed to take you down to the physical capabilities of a woman. However, in this instance, we just in the last segment talked about how people are pretending to be women and dominating in the sports. This is the clear-cut example. We don't need another example, honestly, after this. Lia Thomas, to my knowledge, I could be wrong on this, but based on what I read here and see, I don't think so. What transition has this motherfucker gone through medically? Just got long hair, still looks, sounds like a dude, not convincing, not passable whatsoever. So what the fuck? Like, I was just not a grown man parading around as a woman with no medical transition whatsoever, went through puberty as a male, all the wrong boxes checked, yet it's not happening. Yeah, I'd be criticized and called crazy if I was to just highlight this as a perfect example of it happening. In a recent interview with John Cleese for the GNB News, Jenner expressed her dissatisfaction with how Thomas was allowed to compete for the title, stating that Thomas had a few physical advantages. They put Thomam, Thomam. I'm at the point now in this podcast shit where it's like things I rant about all the time, and it's bad typists, lack of proofreading, and stupid-ass articles with no point whatsoever. Falsified and full of lies. Like, this is, shit like this. Quote from Caitlyn Jenner. Lia Thomas was 6'4", big hands, transitioned just over the last couple of years, and hormone levels were lower, but went through male puberty. So, I thought that didn't matter. So, okay, so she did transition or whatever. I acknowledge that I might have been wrong about this because I don't follow that bitch. I don't really care about their existence whatsoever. They're a horrible person as far as I'm concerned. But hormone levels were lower but went through male puberty. So is Caitlyn Jenner suggesting that biological realities matter? Is that what you're suggesting? That might be what I'm hearing. Because, what difference does it make if you went through male puberty, All you got to do is take some hormones and demasculinize yourself a tad bit. And, it's all the same according to the left and the people who espouse this bullshit. That's all you got to do. So what's Caitlyn Jenner suggesting? She added 6'4", big hands, kicking butt in the NCAA, and it's just wrong. It's not fair because they went through male puberty. And that's almost correct. It's not just unfair because Lia Thomas went through male puberty. It's unfair because men and women, for the vast majority of physical competition, should not be paired. They should not. Men and women on the physical realm are not equal. And I don't give a damn how much you protest. I don't give a damn how much you wish it wasn't so. I don't give a damn about any of that. What I give a damn about is reality. Things that are real, things that I can rely on, things that I can test and study and observe and predict. And this ain't one of them. Prior to her gender transition in 2015, Caitlyn Jenner competed in the men's athletic category during her professional career. Formerly known as Bruce Jenner, the former athlete had a remarkable Olympic journey that included securing a gold medal in the men's decathlon event at the 1976 Olympic Games in Montreal. Caitlyn Jenner praises Riley Gaines for standing up against Lia Thomas and trans athletes competing against trans women. Now, while this is ironic on so many levels, why exactly? I'm trying to understand why. It's hard to take Caitlyn Jenner seriously. It's really hard to do because it's just the irony is overwhelming. It's obnoxiously your career is already over. You did your career and then you transitioned. These people aren't living their lives as men, achieving stellar accomplishments, then transitioning. These people, most of them haven't done shit in their lives before they, do this irreversible, damaging, harmful shit. And espouse these harmful leftist ideologies meant to destroy societies outright. So, it's good that you praising Riley Gaines. Praising Riley Gaines is the right thing to do, absolutely. But it's why don't you just, come out and say what it is? Just be honest. You're not a woman. Even though it's a lot easier to call Caitlyn Jenner and call them a she. It's a lot easier to do that than most of these motherfuckers. It was the impetus for this to happen, widespread, and it'd be talked about and allegedly, they want you to openly talk about it like it's a normal thing. But, I just think this praise is a backhanded compliment, Jesus Christ. The praise is backhanded. It's like tongue-in-cheek, you know? Saying, oh, you know, like a trans woman say, you go, girl. It's like, yeah, you're not really a girl, though. Like, you know, yeah, you got the vibes or whatever, but, like, especially if you live most of your life as a man, like, you don't know how to be a girl. Even if you was, like, gay. Like, gay men ain't women. I know they may act effeminate and have feminine mannerisms and shit, but they're not women. Gay men are feminine men. Feminine men and women are not the same. It's just like spending, even me, when I'm dressing up, like there was no way, even as gay as the shit as I was doing there was no way I was going to walk around and, yeah, and totally, and because everything, and wow, that's so wonderful. Like, that's just not me. Even gay me, that's not gay me. Gay me is largely the same person I am now. The only thing that's different is the sexuality. The personality is not affected. I don't find men attractive. I can acknowledge a decent looking man. Say, yeah, you're not a bad looking guy. I can look at a man and be like, you look like the type of man that generally women would be attracted to. Women would find you attractive. Like a Brad Pitt or like Michael Ealy or like, you know, those kind of guys. Like, yeah, you know, I'm not attracted to them. I don't find any sexual arousal from looking at them whatsoever. But when I look at them, I look at the features they got, and it's like, I know that's what women like. So, you know, it's this whole medical transition shit, I know from very personal experience. Like, when it came down to it, people asking me, was I planning on transition? It was like, absolutely not. Like, jokingly, I might get some breasts. But, like, I'm a dude. I'm a hardcore dude. Ain't no amount of charm school that can make me feminine. Like, I'm sassy at best. And that's how a lot of the gay men I've hung around, like, they're sassy or they're just this very, very aggressive. It's like butch queenish. It's like that real aggressive femininity. It's like, you ain't really feminine as much as you just sassy. Like, you got attitude and it come off like, so what you saying? Because I get up and I whoop your ass right now. Do you hear me? Don't play with me. Don't play with me. It's like, that's not feminine. That's gay. They trying to blur the line with that shit. How much of this is left? Blah, 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 blah. Because I know I veered off on a tangent separate from this article. But I don't really even care to hear about Caitlyn Jenner supporting Riley Gaines. It's just the irony is too involved. Like, I can't get around it. It's like, I would rather hear anybody else say this but you. Even though you're probably right. You're saying something that's correct. Something that should be validated. But coming from you, it's not even how you say it, it's who's saying it. So it's hard for me to get on board with that shit, even though you're right. And I want to make it clear as I wrap this up that, like I was saying, effeminate males and women are different. Very, very, very few trans women have the mannerisms and are just really like gender dysphoric to the point to where, like, they even still they accept that they are men, but they understand that part is always understood. They live their life as something, but they understand, like, I'm a boy. They know it, but that's just not how they carry themselves. But they're not in denial about it. You know, that's different from women. Gay niggas is different from women. Just based off my behavior, I would have to say I'm bisexual. If a motherfucker asked me what I did, it would be kind of hard for me to make the case that I'm a straight male. It's just hard to make that case, but that's how my mind works. Like, drugs made me do that shit. And I'm not saying I didn't enjoy any of it, but it was the drugs. Like, it was drug-fueled fantasy experiences. Like, it's pretty much what it was. And that's different from being a woman. Significantly. Like, unignorably. So please, don't let these motherfuckers try to talk you into this shit as if femininity and feminine acting niggas, like, it's not remotely close. I've been around so many of these motherfuckers. I know anecdotal experience is not really worth anything, but I'm telling you, dog, like, just being around masculine women and feminine men, you understand that, like, these people are confused. The way they chalked up life is skewed, and they need help. And that's the bottom line on that shit. Man, this really, this article is long as fuck, but I don't know, man. This episode might just be like 2 hours long or something, bro. Like, this is a really bad sign. This is really bad. Excuse me. Like, I dare you to spin a narrative in which this is, like, beneficial. Courtesy of the Daily Mail. Irish teacher jailed indefinitely for refusing to, quote, call a boy a girl. These assholes out there playing that music, I can see it being picked up on my mic. So I'm gonna try not to. I always say I'm gonna try not to interrupt, but I'm a goddamn lie. I'm gonna interrupt as soon as I hear some stupid shit. But let's go. Enoch Burke flouted a court order to stay away from school following suspension. School trust backed down and apologizes for plans to introduce trans education program for children young as 4. Yeah, we might just put that in the next episode. What the fuck? All right. It's the trans rights row that has gripped Ireland for well over a year, putting an otherwise remarkable history teacher at the heart of the country's culture wars for his refusal to use a trans pupil's pronouns. Enoch Burke, who taught history in German, refused to refer to a transgender student as they rather than he in May last year. It sparked a chain of events that has led to him being jailed for repeatedly showing up at Wilson's Hospital School in County Westmeath after being sacked and entering the staff room saying he was there to do his job. Wait, what? For repeatedly showing up after being sacked? What the fuck? Oh, hospital school. Okay, I was like, what the fuck? I just seen hospital. I'm like, wait, what? That shit ain't making sense. Okay, Wilson's Hospital School. Okay, after being sacked. Oh, okay, fired, sacked. I'm like, I thought they meant like they tackled this nigga. See, this that language. It's after being sacked. The fuck? Yeah, so sacked, they mean fire. Okay. So yeah, after being fired, sacked, and entering the staff room saying he was there to do his job. I was thoroughly confused by that shit, dog. I was like, what the hell? Now he remains in Dublin's Mountjoy prison with no prospect of release because he refuses to comply with a court order to stay away from the school premises. Meanwhile, Burke's loyal family continue to protest at the school, maintaining he's being persecuted for his Christian beliefs, while supporters insist the whole country is behind him. As they damn well should be. The fuck? I'm behind him. I mean, I'm as behind him as I can be from, America, shit. But I couldn't financially be behind him, but I'm rooting for him to get the fuck out of jail and for that child to get the help they need so this man can get back to teaching. Should nobody ever be put in jail for this shit. This is abhorrent. Like, this is abject, just tyranny. Like, the fuck? However, Others less sympathetic to the cause view his stubborn refusal and his family's protests as attention-seeking, with one newspaper columnist pointing out that the Burkes, quote, like to get their own way. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Even if that's the case, I don't think this is one of those times. Like, you know, even that one dude from the convicted a murderer, even that dude was actually innocent, even though he was guilty of a bunch of other shit. They got him for something he didn't do. Come to find out, he did a bunch of other shit. So, you know, this shit crazy. This dude show up to work, can't work because this nigga don't want to call a boy or girl. And they refuse this nigga to actually put this nigga in jail because he reported to work. The row broke out more than a year ago when during a meeting, the head teacher and his deputy, Burke, said that his evangelical Christian beliefs meant he opposed transgenderism. Following this, Burke publicly criticized the head teacher's, quote, demand that staff use students' chosen pronouns, following a service at the Church of Ireland School to celebrate its 260th anniversary. Burke was accused of, quote, breaching the confidence of the transitioning student, and as a result, the teacher was suspended with pay and later fired for gross misconduct in August last year. However, Burke continued showing up at the school, prompting his former employer to obtain a court order to get him to stay away. In September last year, Burke was jailed for 100 days for ignoring the court order. Oh, wow. During an appeal, the teacher argued that he was being imprisoned because of his Christian beliefs. After being released, Burke was in prison for the second time in September of this year for refusing to stay away from the school again, and has been told he will remain in prison indefinitely until he agrees to comply with a court order. Here, what the hell? F-E-M-A-I-L, female? Here, female delves into the case that has gripped Ireland as Burke's family campaigns for his release without having to endorse transgenderism. Beginning of Trans Row. Last spring, head teacher Niamh McShane sent an email to her staff informing them of the student's new name and pronouns. After receiving the email, Burke is said to have raised his issue with the change of pronouns during a staff meeting on May 10th last year. While giving evidence in a later trial, deputy head teacher John Galligan said that Burke, quote, erupted during the meeting and, quote, changed color completely. According to the former deputy head, Burke, whose forte was said to have been extracurricular debating, spoke for a good 5 to 8 minutes. After this, guidance counselor Freedom Malone told the court that she approached Burke to tell him she was sorry he was so upset and noted that he had tears in his eyes. In a follow-up meeting between the head teacher, her deputy and Burke, Mr. Galligan claimed the jail teacher repeated how he was, quote, opposed to transgenderism as a result of his religion. Following this, Burke is said to have publicly interjected after a religious service celebrating the school's 260th anniversary to criticize Ms. McShane's supposed demand that staff refer to the student by their chosen pronouns. Now, this is what Jordan Peterson said when they tried to do this shit to him. Nothing happened to Jordan Peterson, thank God. But this is the same thing he said. It's one thing to compel to compel speech in the sense that what you can't say. It's one thing to tell somebody what they cannot say. But it's another thing to tell them what they have to say. Like, you have to affirm this delusion under the guise of helping this child. Like, that's what you think this is? Like, you have to go along with that even if you don't go along with that. Like, if you don't go along with that and you want to continue to have a career, because like if they figure out that that's why you don't want to be there anymore, that's going to catch up with you, and you'll be able to transphobe, and that'll ruin you. So it's like, you know, what the fuck? What's he supposed to do? If you're a person of faith and he said his faith makes him opposed to transgenderism, then that's a conflict of interest. Now, I think it was a little silly of him to like push it to the point where he went and got himself arrested. He told him to get a court order. They got the court order, and then as soon as he got the court order, he disobeyed it. I think that was kind of goofy. And then, like you said in the courtroom, like, you know, you could have avoided the arrest and still done what you did. Like, you didn't have to keep showing up to the school every day. Like, Like, take that shit to court. Quit showing up to the school. You talking about telling them to get a court order. Why don't you take them to court? Why don't you sue the school? What's the law in Ireland? How does that work? Can't you file a suit against the school? Like, you made yourself a martyr, essentially. Continue. Following the chapel service, Burke is alleged to have approached the head teacher at a meal where he asked her to withdraw her demand again. As a result of this, the head teacher believed Burke was guilty of gross misconduct, as other students may not have been aware the student was transitioning. The fuck? Miss Frida Malone, who worked at the school as a guidance counselor, claims Burke breached the confidence of the student on 2 occasions during that occasion. Speaking at a high court hearing in March this year, Miss Malone said the head teacher was escorted home by other guests at the event, and they later formed a ring around her home out of concern for her safety. Discussing the incidents in court, head teacher Miss McShane, who stepped down amid the controversy, said, quote, the public statement of his refusal to accept transgenderism in the chapel. It was as if the school had demanded to accept transgenderism, which was not the case. So it was a misrepresentation of what happened. That sounds exactly like what had happened to me. Y'all said, y'all had asked him, y'all demanded that this child's pronouns be acknowledged and used. So, like, that's accepting transgenderism by force. Like, you put him in a position where he had to choose between his career or what you guys want or his religion. Like, you made him ambivalent by enforcing this request. So, like, he has to make a choice now that he didn't previously have to make. And, like, this choice, whatever choice he make, is going to have repercussions for the choices he didn't make. You put him in a catch-22, 33, however you want to look at it. What I ask is that we could support the student in their request. That is very different than to ask the staff to accept transgenderism. So what do you mean by support the student in their request? Stop equivocating. What do you mean support the student? How? Support them how? With the pronoun shit? That's transgenderism. That's what that is. So you basically said, we're not asking you to accept it. We just asked you to do it. Like, how you gonna do it without accepting it? Doesn't make sense. Incoherent as fuck. Initial suspension and protest. In August last year, Ms. McShane submitted a Stage 4 report to the chair of the board, John Rogers, about Burke's outbursts, which prompted the representative to arrange a meeting with the teacher. A whole big picture of this motherfucker. All these people walking around in suits. The purpose of the meeting was to decide if Burke should be suspended or face any kind of disciplinary. Face any kind of disciplinary action? Place any kind of discipline? That's what I'm saying, man. These too many typos. Just too many typos, too many grammatical errors, it's too often. From many different outlets. Burke's sister, Amy, is said to have joined him for the meeting, which was adjourned for 15 minutes by Mr. Rogers, who said it was, quote, going nowhere. When the representatives returned to the meeting room, the Burkes had left. After this, the board made the unanimous decision to place Burke on paid leave while they dealt with a misconduct allegation. According to Mr. Galligan, there were growing concerns about what Burke's next protest might be and the form it would take in the new school year. Despite being put on leave, Burke is said to have attended a staff meeting at the start of the school year. After repeatedly arriving on school grounds, Burke was allegedly asked to leave every hour by the deputy head. The ex-deputy head said Burke would be there for the day, standing in the room reading from a book. That's where he remained. Mr. Galligan says Burke refused to leave the premises, insisting he was there to work and attend meetings. In May 2023, the Irish High Court ruled that the school had acted lawfully in suspending Burke and said Enoch had been trespassing on their grounds. Fuck you. First prison sentence. In an attempt to keep Burke away from the premises while they conducted the investigation, the school took out a temporary court order against the teacher, which still didn't deter him. In August of last year, Enoch was sued by the school for his failure to comply with the court order and later arrested for being in contempt of court. At his initial hearing on September 6th that year, Mr. Burke told Judge Quinn, quote, "I am a teacher and I don't want to go to prison. I want to be in my classroom today. That's where I was this morning when I was arrested. I love my school with its motto, res non verba, actions not words. But I am here today because I said I would not call a boy a girl." When the case went to the high court following the week, Burke, who was representing himself, maintained that he would not purge his contempt of court for violating the order, insisting that he was being persecuted for his faith. When asked by Judge Eileen Roberts if he would abide by the order, Burke said, quote, "I cannot do that. I go back to jail as a law-abiding citizen of the state always, but God first." Addressing the court, Burke said, "The question is not will I purge my contempt, but how this court order could have been granted. The court is asking me to purge my contempt, but this court has robbed me of my constitutional right. It was wrong what the court did. How can I purge my contempt of that which is wrong?" But Judge Robert disagreed with his argument. The teacher was escorted out of the court to prison by 3 prison guards to loud applause from the public gallery, with many hollering, "The country is with you, Enoch." Yeah, they got pictures of people protesting, holding signs. Enoch Burke jailed for his Christian belief. Why is the Church of Ireland primate silent? They're showing him outside the prison or whatever. Dozens of people packed the public gallery shouting disgrace and shame following the judge's decision. The teacher served more than 100 days before being released on December 21st last year on an open-ended basis. Eventual dismissal and £15,000 fine or euro fine. On January 18th, Burke and his family interrupted a school board meeting which was being held at the Mullinger Park Hotel in Westmeath. During the meeting, the board heard Ms. McShane's report into Burke's misconduct. The family took issue to the fact that Chairman John Rogers, who had held the initial meeting with Burke, was not present. In a high court hearing, it was revealed that Mr. Rogers had not attended the meeting due to illness. The Burkes could reportedly be heard chanting in the hallway, "It's a sham. It's a cover-up." Gardai had to escort board members from a Mullinger hotel while they were being followed by members of Burke's family. I'm assuming Gardai is security in Ireland. 2 days later, it was announced that Burke had been officially dismissed from his position at the school for intimidating and harassing a colleague and breaching the confidence of the child who was in the process of transitioning. Yeah, the harassing the colleague, even though all that stems from this shit, I think he might have overplayed his hand a little bit, but he definitely has a case here. Like, breaching the confidence. Like, what the fuck? That confidence from who? Like, who wasn't supposed to know about this? Like, they were gonna know eventually. They were gonna know. And why are you trying to keep that secret? Why are you trying to hide that? That's fucking weird for a school to do. I would sue the fuck out of a school that did that shit to my child. I would sue them into oblivion. I would have lawyers crawling up their ass from dusk till dawn. Do you hear me? Fuck that shit. At the time, a statement from the school read, he was informed in person at 3:30 p.m. this afternoon in the presence of chairperson and the board of management John Rogers and principal Frank Milling that he was dismissed. 1 week later, the High Court ruled that Burke would be fined €700 a day if he continued ignoring the court order which requires him to stay away from the school. Burke appealed the board's decision to dismiss him, which resulted in the case going to the Irish High Court in March. Mr. Justice Owens excluded the teacher on the first day after he continually interrupted proceedings and refused to comply with rules. Scenes of pandemonium broke out at the Court of Appeal as Burke and his parents and 3 of his siblings were physically dragged out of the courtroom by Gardai. Enoch's mother, Martina Burke, accused the judges of, quote, bowing to the altar of transgenderism while waving a copy of the Constitution. His sister, Amy, a solicitor, also attempted to argue with the judges mid-ruling, saying her brother's constitutional rights were not being upheld. Judge Birmingham asked her to sit down and then requested that Gardai remove her from the courtroom. During the hearing, Freda Malone said that the school was concerned for the transgender student's safety and feared Burke would continue making public protests in front of other students. They always talking about these people's safety. Like, what the fuck? What are they in danger of? Where's the danger? Concern for the transgender student's safety? Hell yeah, somebody's about to try to set them up and butcher and mutilate them. That's the safety that you should be concerned about. You guys are appropriating the harm. You complicit with that shit. The fuck? Meanwhile, Mr. Galligan discussed Burke's initial outburst at the staff meeting and his repeated attempts to remove the teacher from the premises during his suspension. Following the hearing, Justice Owens made an order restraining Burke from trespassing on the school premises, but noted that this did not prevent him from being outside the gates. In July, Burke was ordered to pay €15,000 to Wilson's Hospital School to cover their legal fees and for damages. Appearing before Justice Alexander Owens, Burke said that objecting to people being transgender was his right. Wow. In September, Burke was jailed for a second time after refusing to comply with the high court order. The school's new head teacher, Frank Milling, said that having to lock doors was creating a health and safety issue for faculty. Oh my God. On top of this, the head teacher said he was unable to carry out some of his everyday duties as he has to monitor Burke, who has been known to follow cars through the gates. After gaining access by following a bus in January, Mr. Milling, who has expressed some concern for how the situation is impacting current students, told Burke, stop, get off the property. Despite being removed from the premises by two uniformed Gardai, Burke returned to the gates following his release later that same day. Speaking at the gates, Burke told local press that he had been, quote, wrongfully arrested for trespassing and insisted he has, quote, broken no laws and done nothing wrong, the Irish Independent reports. Justice Mark Heslin said there was no dispute that Burke has frequently breached court orders to stay away from the school. As a result, the judge ordered that Burke remain in prison indefinitely until he agrees to follow the court order and not return to his old workplace. After finding Burke to be in contempt of court, Justice Mark Heslin asked the teacher on 3 occasions if he understood the order against him. However, Burke remained silent. Burke was returned to Mountjoy Prison, where he spent his first prison sentence, and was told he could be released if he agreed to stay away from the school. The former teacher has been in prison at the facility since September 8th and has been participating in court hearings via video link. In November, Burke's father, Sean, and brother Isaac were physically removed from the Court of Appeal for interrupting Justice John Edwards. Last week, Burke's mother Martina and sister Amy were removed from the Court of Appeal after they began shouting at barristers and the judge upon entry. The pair demanded that Owen lawyer BL, who is acting as the counsel for the Garda Síochána Ombudsman Commission, leave the courtroom. On top of this, they accused the court of, quote, making a fool of Enoch and said it was corrupt that the teacher had to contribute via video link while Lawler was present. Last night, Burke's family protested outside the Wilson's Hospital School, which was hosting their annual carol concert. His mother held a sign reading, Enoch Burke stood for school ethos and is in Mountjoy for Christmas. His brother's sign read, Enoch Burke jail for his Christian belief. Christmas in Mountjoy for Christian teacher. His father's sign read. There's more to this? No way. No way. No, even if there is, just no way. But yeah, I said earlier he might have misbehaved a little bit. I'd like to take that back. Like, I would probably do the exact same fucking thing. Fuck him. Fuck him. Y'all on the wrong goddamn side. Y'all trying to conceal that shit. And you talking about stay off the premises. Fuck that. I should have never been fired. And now I ain't gonna call that boy no girl. I'm not gonna affirm the delusion. I'm not gonna destroy civilization. No. People is able to believe what they want to until it contradicts with the fucking bullshit ass destructive leftist narrative, as corrosive as it is. Shit is foolishness. Enoch Burke to whatever degree I could. I can't. I stand with you. I stand with you verbally, you know, on this podcast, on this show. Like, you know, I hope one day I'm able to raise some awareness about you. Like, this needs awareness. More people need to do this. More people need to speak out against this. And it's unfortunate that you got to be indefinitely jailed until you agree. But it is what it is. When it's time, when you're ready to come out, you will come out. Until then, you know, like, this shit's nuts, man. That this all started because they asked him to support the transition. And he said no. He said no, I'm not doing that. My faith does not permit that. That shit only matters clearly in Ireland. In some places in the world, that shit only matters when, you know, it's convenient. Or when it's a faith that aligns with objective reality. This guy got fucking played and sitting in a prison cell because he didn't want to call a fucking boy a girl. That shit wild, bro. That's the show. Thanks for listening. Have a great day, afternoon, evening, wherever it is, wherever you're listening. Until next time, I holla.